Hi there, students, and welcome to English 112 Online. I'm Heather Keller-Giltner, and I'm excited to have you in class this semester for this online course at Quincy University. So the purpose of this video that I've designed is really just to give you a tour of our course page, help you to become familiar with the policies in the syllabus and what is going to be happening in this class throughout the next 16 weeks, and really just a chance for you to pair the comments and the things that I'm going to be typing to you virtually with a face and a voice, and hopefully I will have opportunities to connect with you live throughout the semester, but it's always good when we start an online class to start with getting to know one another. So this is serving that purpose as well. So I have created for myself some slides just to keep myself on task so that this doesn't take forever. So let me share my screen with you. And okay, so let me start with some of these things in terms of introductions, and let me switch these out and let me make myself a little smaller. Not that small. Sometimes when we make these kinds of videos for students, we have to just kind of talk ourselves through this process. Okay, I'm going to have it right up here, and it's weird because when I make these videos, I'm like, am I looking at you? Am I looking at my screen? So I'm going to be looking all over the place. Just stay with me. You might also find it helpful before I dive into all this. If you are the kind of person who likes to take notes on things, you might actually just go ahead now and print out the syllabus and the assignment schedule. And those are two documents that are located at the top of our course page in a module called Course Documents. So if you want to pull those up, have them printed and handy, then you can just supplement by taking notes on things that I might say and point out as we go through this welcome video. So you might pause if you want to do that. Otherwise, let's keep it moving. So I like to be called Professor HK, which is probably the easiest way to address me because my last name is Keller-Giltner. It's kind of a mouthful. A lot of students will just truncate to HK, which works great for me. I do prefer to be addressed as professor. So no, please don't call me miss, please don't call me ma'am, please don't call me Mrs. I really just like to be called professor. So up front, you should know that about me. You don't need to call me doctor. It's a work in progress. I'm not there yet. I'll let you know if anything changes. I'd be thrilled if that happened, but let's see. And yeah, as you address me and your classmates, I'm always expecting what I'm going to refer to as netiquette, the net version of etiquette. I like for our communications to one another to be signed with greetings and closings. So when you send me an email, please don't just, hey, do we have class today? Just don't type a message to me that's just a question. Hi, professor. I'm in your 112 online class. I have a quick question. Insert question here. Thanks, Hannah, whatever. So I just like for you to model that sort of netiquette in your communications with me. You will see that whenever I send you messages, whether they're to our entire class or whether they're just to you individually, I will always include a greeting, a closing, and I will model that same netiquette for you. Netiquette will also apply to our virtual discussions that we have, and we will be having these discussions weekly. So other people are going to be reading what you're writing and what you're posting. Some of this will include personal opinion and examples, and that's fine. It's great that we're going to have these discussions, and I'm looking forward to them, and I hope you are too. Make sure that when you disagree with someone else or when you're commenting on someone else that you're modeling respectful use of language, and you allow everyone's ideas to be expressed and clarified when necessary, but we want to just model good behavior when we do that. So this is stuff that I mentioned in a welcome video, not thinking that it's ever going to be a problem because usually it isn't. It's just something to be aware of. Moving on. This is just a little bit about my background, and I'll move myself up a little bit so you can see this. Okay, so up at the top, I'm a graduate of the University of Illinois at Springfield. I was a Capital Scholar there, and I graduated many moons ago with degrees in English and communication. And those are actually the two areas that I most commonly am teaching college level courses in now today. So I loved what I studied. I loved being in college, and I loved it so much that when I was finished with those two undergraduate degrees, I stayed on at UIS as a graduate assistant. I worked in student affairs for a long time. I also worked as an event planner, and so I've got all kinds of experiences in PR and media and stuff like that, but I really fell in love with education as I was pursuing my master's degree in English. And so as I was finishing that up, it was time for me to look for a full-time big kid job. And so I landed at Culver Stockton College. And that's a small private institution that's located in Canton, Missouri. That's where I met my husband, who I'll show you a photo of on the next slide. And I worked there in college administration for about 7 years and had a great experience there. I learned a lot, worked in a lot of different areas of campus. And just as I was maybe 5 years in, I started teaching one class every semester. And I found pretty quickly that that became the best part of my day, was planning my classes and grading and meeting with my students that I had in class, and just that whole teaching experience really took over. And I decided that I really feel passionate about teaching, and maybe there's a path here for me. And so what I did to clarify that interest was I started a PhD program. That's a program based in executive and educational leadership, and that's at the University of the Cumberlands. I've been working on that for coming up on 4 years. I finished all my coursework, passed my comps. I'm more than halfway finished with my dissertation, and those last 2 chapters are just really pesky. So I'm trying to work through them, and maybe this semester I'll get there and I'll cross the finish line. But that's what I've been working on while I've been pursuing a full-time teaching career. So when you piece together the different places where I'm teaching, certainly I'm teaching full-time. I'm teaching here at Quincy University. I also teach at John Wood Community College, another institution here in Quincy, Illinois, and I'm still teaching at Culver Stockton. And so I have lots of students and lots of classes every semester, but I love what I'm doing. And my students, I think, can perceive that. Even online students like you know that being a good teacher is something that I'm really focused on, and that when you have a question or a problem or you need help, you'll find me to be positive and helpful and receptive within reason. And so most students find that it's pretty easy to see that I have a clear passion for teaching. And so that's why I'm on this path. So that's a little bit about me in terms of academics. I've also, I'm teaching classes at John Wood and at Culver in communications, sometimes in leadership, and some other areas. I'm really excited about that. But this is my 4th year of teaching at Quincy, at QU, and so I've had a great experience. The QU students are amazing, and so I'm sure we'll have a great semester together. Moving on, a little bit about me personally. So you're seeing down here on this side of your screen, that's my husband, Dr. Scott Giltner, and he is teaching, I think this is his 14th or 15th year teaching at Culver, and so he is a history professor. So we always joke that between the 2 disciplines, English, which I usually teach, and history, usually we're at least one person's least favorite subject. So if you didn't hate English, then you hated history, and so one of us is going to be your least favorite. But we both are passionate about teaching, and you can also see Scott, who is pictured here at the foot of the Pacora volcano in Guatemala, is a total adventurer, travel buff. He's the president of an international study abroad organization, so he spends time in Latin America and the Caribbean all the time. So he loves traveling abroad. He regularly does so with students, and that's part of his passion for teaching. So he's amazing. You probably won't hear him mentioned a lot in our discussions in class, but it's just something to know that, oh yeah, your professor's married and that's who she's married to, blah, blah. We don't have any kids. We have furry kids. We have Gus and Bitsy, who are in this top row right here. That's Gus and that's Bitsy, and then this is Lucy. And so this is the part of the video where I'm like, well, girl, don't fall into a rabbit hole and start telling cat stories now. You'll give away all your secrets. So I'm just going to keep it moving and not make it weird. Okay, these are the best ways to reach me. Email, far and away, is the best way for you to communicate with me outside of class and to get a quick response. I usually am able to respond to all of my email messages well within a 24-hour window. You'll see in your syllabus that I've mentioned that 24 to 48 hours is a reasonable time frame. That just accommodates weekends and times when I might be traveling or away from my computer or something like that. Those instances are rare, and I do check my email multiple times a day. I try to be really expedient in communicating with online students with whom I don't have a regular live interaction. And so if you send me emails and you have quick questions, that's the best way for you to reach me. So I would ask, because not only am I teaching 112 online with y'all this semester, I'm also teaching 112 in the classroom, and I'm also teaching English 111. So I'm getting emails from students from multiple classes at QU. If you would, please and thank you, just identify in your message which class you have me in. Hi, this is Hannah, and I'm in your English 112 online class. Great. That helps me to avoid looking at the roster and figuring out, are you in this class or this class? Are you this Hannah or this Hannah? I can figure that out if you leave me those teeny tiny breadcrumbs identifying which course you're in. So there's that. I'm also in a habit of meeting frequently with students virtually. And so I am on campus. I teach on campus, and so if you want to swing by during my office hours on Monday and Wednesday afternoons, you can totally do that. I also have the seated 112 course that's from 3:30 to 4:45 on Mondays and Wednesdays, but you and I can also conference virtually one-on-one. So I use Skype, I use FaceTime, I use Zoom. I'm actually using Zoom right now to make this video. I think all of these are great platforms to use, and so if you need to talk with me about something that you'd like to discuss live and maybe not by email, Skype, Zoom, FaceTime are all great options. So let's take a peek at our course page. So let me get out of this and let me bring over our course page. Let me blow that up. There we go. Okay, so I'm not sure if you are new to Moodle or not. When you take 112 in the fall, that means that you've taken 111 previously or its equivalent somewhere else. So that tells me that you're coming into this class and we've already made sure that you are able to write at the college level. You've probably had some form of introduction to academic research, and you know how to use citation styles like MLA or APA. That's not the case for you, or you're feeling a little rusty or you need some practice. We'll work through that in this class without major issues. I want to show you just the course page in terms of layout. So when you log into Moodle, it'll give you your active courses, and then you'll click on ours, which is 112-1OL for online. And you'll navigate through our course page, which is actually, I think, very surfable and easy to navigate. Up at the top of our course page, I've listed course documents. These are 3 essential documents. The first 2, I would certainly recommend printing out if you are really being not a tree killer this semester. Certainly just print out the syllabus. The assignment schedule is actually embedded within the syllabus. The assignment schedule as a separate document is just a duplicate copy for convenience. You may not need that. The document format example is something that you're probably going to work with virtually. Let me show you. I won't go through the syllabus, but I'll pull it up for you. This is, I don't know. Here's the syllabus. It should be pulling it up. It's thinking about it. Anyway, in the meantime, while that's coming up, here's a view of the assignment schedule. Now you'll notice that textbook readings and reading assignments are not included in this document. Those I'm going to be specifying in our discussion boards. So each week when we have a discussion board that's coming up, I will be giving you, before you create your initial post this week, read this, watch this. Sometimes it will be articles, sometimes it will be chapters of a text, sometimes it will be videos. It just depends. So the types of sources that we're going to be viewing, reading, and discussing together in class vary pretty widely. So you'll find information about what you're supposed to be reading and preparing for class there. In this document, I've listed things that I want you to watch and submit as course assignments. So the welcome video that you're watching right now, hey, look at you doing an assignment, yeah. And then I'm also specifying, and again, these are broken down by week, just like our modules that you'll see on the course page. Introducing yourself, your initial post is due this Wednesday by midnight on Wednesday, and then I would like you to circle back and respond to at least 2 peers, and these instructions are echoed in the discussion board, so they're here and also given more extensively in each individual discussion board. So instructions, full instructions for word count, how many responses, blah, 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 will always be listed in the discussion board. So that's just how the assignment schedule works. It corresponds with the one that I've listed in the syllabus. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Really? Looking at you, Moodle. Okay, let's start over and see if we can get the syllabus to come up. I feel good about it this time. There we go. Something happened. Maybe it's over here. Yeah. It just didn't like that I was sharing my screen and trying to open a file at the same time, I guess. Whatevs. All right, here we go. Word's pulling it up. We're going to make it. So while this is coming up, let me point out the document formatting example. Oh, here it is. Speak of. So you'll see that there's a third file in course documents that I have downloaded or uploaded for you to peek at. What I would do, because there are not super strange document formatting things that I want you to follow. These are all pretty standard. They're compliant with both MLA and APA, and so this is why I use this specific set of guidelines. But sometimes it's hard for students to make sure that every single expectation of what is going on in your assignments is being followed. So I've created this template here, and it has just a student's name as an example, blah, blah, blah. I've included some comments that will sort of explain what I'm looking for throughout this document. My suggestion to you would be to download this and save it as English 112 assignment template in whatever folder you're using on OneDrive or Google Drive or whatever. For your assignments for this course. And that way, whenever you need to create a new typed assignment, just use this as a template, modify it, and save it with a new name. And that way, you're guaranteed to be following the guidelines that I'm asking you to follow for formatting documents. Page numbers, paragraph double spacing, centered titles, all of the stuff that you need to have is already done in this document. So I would just download it, modify it for yourself, and move on. So there's that. Please tell me that the syllabus has now opened. Okay, now it's opening. Guys, really. All right, so now it's coming up, and I want to just, I will not go through the syllabus exhaustively. You are familiar at this point with college syllabi, whether that's from being a QU student already or from being a student somewhere else and transferring in or taking high school dual credit courses, whatever. You know how to work through these things. So, in terms of our course, there are recommended texts. If you have these, awesome, it's great. You will use these. This was a good investment of your money. If you don't have them, these are recommended texts, and the readings that I'm assigning in class, I will be providing to you. So Identity is one of them. It looks like this. It was published in 2011. You can totally rent this. You can use used copies of this if you would like this text. So there's that. A lot of those identity readings are available online, so if you don't already have the text, I wouldn't worry about it. This is also Praxis. It might look familiar if you took English 111 at QU because that's their required text. I like to carry it over as a recommended text into 112 because we will continue to discuss the concepts of rhetoric. We will continue to discuss things like logical fallacies and argumentative writing and argumentative structure, revision, editing, things that are all covered really well in the Praxis text. If you don't already have Praxis, I don't know that you need to buy it. This is the 3rd edition. The 2nd edition, which has been out of print for a couple, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years, is also very similar to this. So if you want to have Praxis but you don't want to pay, these aren't expensive texts, but I bet you can find super cheap copies of Identity, used or rent it. Praxis, you could use used copies or older editions like the 2nd edition without any issues. So those are the 2 recommended texts. Also, I've hyperlinked to the MLA and APA style guides via OWL Purdue. That's the online writing lab for Purdue University. It's an excellent, continually updated online resource that models lots of citation styles, gives great examples, really walks through the aspects of each individual citation style really well, really thoroughly in a comprehensive way. And so that would be my recommendation for the resource that you use to help you move through citations, as compared with making you buy an MLA 8 handbook or an APA handbook that's current. Because those are citation styles that change regularly, I want you to have a text that really plugs into today, right now. What is APA asking you to do? How is MLA modeling the citation today, right now? And so that resource from OWL Purdue is the best there is. It's what I use for my own academic research, and so I trust these guys. We talked about already the best way to reach me is my email address, kellehe@quincy.edu. I also have an office on campus, which is great. It's on the 4th floor of Francis. And so I'm there on Mondays and Wednesdays in the afternoon as I'm getting ready for my classes that convene live. So you're always welcome to stop in. You can also make appointments with me as you need. My office phone number and extension is also listed on the syllabus, so there's that. As we move forward, I'm going to let you browse through a lot of this on your own, and I'm just going to hit some of like the most important highlights in this video because, you know, you don't want to be watching a 2-hour-long video. We don't have time for that. You need to get into it. So course objectives and the philosophy of our composition program, these are all good things to be mindful of as we get into this course, but I'm going to let you review those on your own. As we move into classroom conduct, just know that as this is an online course, the thing that serves as the marker of your attendance is really your input in our discussions. And so that netiquette stuff that I was talking about earlier, we need to be mindful of that. But also, if you're not participating in these discussions and you're only writing essays, it's tantamount to never showing up to a live class and just turning in the major assignments. You're not going to pass if that's your approach to this course. These discussions, in addition to being worth a significant number of points in your total course grade, are also really important benchmarks for how involved and engaged you are in the course. So you've got to make sure that you're ready for this to be a writing intensive course, a discussion-based course, a research-based course. We're going to really lean in heavily into developing skills in editing and revising both your own work and the work of peers. And so there's a lot going on in this class and a lot of moving parts. Because it's an online class, sometimes students are tempted to try and jump in all at once during the week and do everything that they need to do within a couple hours for this class. I don't think that's a good way to be successful in this course. I think you need to be logging in at a minimum every other day and spending a significant amount of time every other day working on this course. Now, I don't mean like 4 hours at a time, but you do need to be making gradual progress. And when you've completed assignments like discussion posts for the week, I also expect you to be spending time researching, writing, drafting for the major essays that we'll be writing because we aren't exploring those actively all the time in class. So when there is downtime, I expect you to be working on those essays and making continual progress. So there's that. I'll let you browse through teaching methods on your own. And then because this is an online course and you probably do similar, if not exactly the same thing for other courses that you're taking here at QU or elsewhere. You're submitting your assignments to drop boxes, so you won't be printing things out and sending them to me in the mail, or you will not be submitting assignments by email. So I've created drop boxes, specifically the drop boxes that we use for our major essays 1, 2, and 3 in the course. Those are connected to Turnitin. So you don't need to create a Turnitin account and do anything outside of Moodle. But the Turnitin Dropbox will vet it through the Turnitin service. And if you're not familiar with what Turnitin is a plagiarizing detecting software or platform, and it's really intuitive and it works really, really well. And I know that that's good news for me and bad news for people who don't do their own original work. So use caution. Even if you, how do I say this? I guess I just want to preface what I'm getting at by saying that I don't do plagiarism. I don't tolerate it. Usually students who plagiarize in this class fail without question, as they should. So you need to be doing your own work and taking it seriously in this class. Do not recycle papers. Do not take papers that you've written in other classes, even if you modify them and sort of rework them and turn them in. Don't do that. Don't buy an essay online and turn it in as your own work. Don't do it. And I'm telling you, it's so heartbreaking because every semester, whether it's here or at other institutions where I teach, there are students that do this that I don't know, did you just forget that it's going through Turnitin, and it's going to detect if there are matches in your content for anything else that's online, including millions of student essays that are floating around there in the ether. And there's just Turnitin documents everything for me. And so that's it. Game over. So do your own original work. When you submit your assignments, know that they're going to be vetted as your own authentic original work. And if that's not the case, I would expect Turnitin to pick it up, and that means that you'll be getting an email from me, and we're going to have to sit down and have a discussion about whether or not you can continue in the course. So there's that. Grading, in terms of grades and where your grades come from, I like to just be very upfront with students and let you know on day one, this is the work you're going to be doing. This is how many points the assignments you're completing over the course of the semester are valued at, and this is how you can track your grade. So I'm a math person. Like, I love math, and I also love, you know, literature, and I have this left and right brain thing going on pretty well. But if that's not you, this is a very easy course to figure out what your grade is. I'm giving you 1,000 total points up for grabs, and each 100 points contributes, you know, 10% of your total course grade. So when you have 1,000 points in the semester and you have Essay 3 valued at 200 points, that's 20% of your final course grade is coming to you vis-a-vis Essay 3. So that's an easy way to calculate your grade. Students will find that I'm generally pretty quick at grading assignments, in particular small assignments and weekly assignments like your discussion boards. I'll stay on top of those and grade those pretty quickly. Usually it'll take between 1 and 2 weeks for me to grade a student's essay, a final draft of an essay, but I try and be on the short end of that, and sometimes I can beat a 1-week deadline. It just depends on what else is going on at that time and how many papers I have. Since this is a nice small size class, sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do those ones first. So maybe I'll be able to get your feedback to you more quickly than I usually do. So that's where your grade comes from. I use the same grading scale that QU uses, and so we use plus and minus grading. More information about that is going to be in your student handbook. You should know up front, and I put this in the syllabus because I just don't like there to be any last-minute surprises between week 16 and finals when it's time to think about where your grade is going to come in for a landing. I'm going to round up for decimal points of 0.5 and north of that for assignments, rounding down for 0.4 and lower. However, when we get to the end of the term, and the number of points is the number of points that you have. So if you have 899 points, that's 89.9%. That's a final course grade of B+. So I don't round final grades up. I'm also not a believer really in extra credit. So these are the assignments. Don't miss a bunch of discussion boards and be looking at additional deductions beyond the points you've already lost for missing those assignments, and then ask if you can make them all up at the last minute. I don't play that. I don't do that. Sorry, guys. So just know on day one, don't depend on extra credit to save your grade. Don't depend on me to round your grade up. So if you're at 88%, yeah, I'm not bumping you to an A. Not doing it. That's just not how I am. So I like students to know I'm totally fair. Students that have had me in class before will tell you that I'm fun, I'm fair, I'm responsive, I care about students, I'm fair. And so the grade that you will receive in the class is the grade that you have earned, my friend. So there's that. Just know about that. Late work, in short, is a bad idea. You're in an online class. So you aren't spending 3 hours every week in class with me. Those are 3 hours that I expect you to be using on your own to participate in these discussions, complete the tasks that I've outlined for you, work on these major projects like essays 1, 2, 3 in your portfolio at the end of the term. There really isn't a reason besides lack of preparation to excuse turning in late work in an online class like this one. So deductions are pretty significant. I welcome you to turn in late work. Exceptions will be the last few assignments in the class. You cannot do the portfolio late. You cannot do the portfolio presentation late because I got to turn in grades. I can't just sit here and wait for you to turn in late work at the end of the term. But throughout the term, actively, I am happy to accept your work late, but with significant penalty to the tune of at least 20% of all the total points available to you per day. So if you turn in essay 1 worth 100 points 2 days late, you're losing 20%, 20 points for day 1 that it's late, and an additional 20 points for day 2 where it's being late. So the highest grade that you can earn when you turn in a paper 2 days late is 60%, a grade of D, and that's before I even open your paper and begin evaluating it and perhaps deducting additional points during grading. So that's my lecture about turning in work on time. If you one time during the semester turned in one assignment 1 day late, it's not going to kill your grade. Absolutely not. And I'm human. I'm not a monster. That kind of stuff might happen. But really, for an online class, the key to success is really just being on top of things, being organized, setting up a schedule when you can work and dedicate time toward making progress on this course that's not interrupted by 1,000 other things. That's really, I think, one of the significant challenges that all online learners will have. So there's that. Essay formatting guidelines we've already gone through because I've shown you that example. Course attendance here is a little bit different because this is virtual. You should know that Moodle has a lot of diagnostics that will track how much time you're spending in the course, how often you're logging into the course, and so all of these things paint me a picture. If you're failing at midterm, chances are you're not spending enough time being engaged in this course, and that's all data that Moodle reports to me. So just know that I pay attention to those diagnostics. I also, like I said before, use the discussion boards that we are completing every week as benchmarks of your progress and your level of engagement in the course. So if you look down at the bold-faced part that's at the bottom of the virtual engagement paragraph, you get one missed discussion. So discussions are, week 2, discussion board week 3, and then sometimes you'll see peer review workshops when we're finalizing essay 1 or 2 or 3. Those are all discussion assignments. In the entire semester, you're allowed to miss 1 without additional penalty. So if you miss, let's say, next week's discussion, you just kind of snooze through it and you don't participate in week 2 in the discussion. Okay, that's your 1. So you won't earn points. You won't earn points for the week 2 discussion at all. Now, if you miss, I don't know, let's say you missed the Essay 2 peer review workshop. You just don't participate in it. Not only will you lose all of the points that are associated with that assignment, that discussion, which is worth 40 points, by the way, you'll also lose an additional 1/2 letter of your final course grade. So that's the equivalent of 50 additional points. And that's for every missed discussion. So it's painting a picture for you that you have to be engaged in these weekly discussions. It is crucial to your grade. So if you missed 4 virtual discussions throughout the entire course, I'm going to lower, I guess, because I'm the one who gives you your grade. I'm going to lower your final course grade by 1 1/2 letter grades. That's 15% of your total course grade that just poof, evaporates at the end of the term. So make sure that you are really putting emphasis, put it in your calendar, put it in your phone, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're not missing the deadlines and you're not snoozing through these discussions. They're super important in this class. So there's that. Academic dishonesty and plagiarism, I've already covered that pretty well, I think. But do read this, read these notes, and make sure that you go through them. This is a duplicate copy of the assignment schedule, so it's also letting you know what's going on in class, play by play, organized by week. I've also inserted the times when we are on break in here, so they all should sync with your planner and the QU calendar. So that's the syllabus. Let me see what else I need to go through with you guys before I tap out. Oh, come on. Let me go back. Okay, so 112 is a course that's about more advanced research methods than those covered in English 111 or Composition 1 if you took that elsewhere. And so here we're focusing on a central topic. So our readings and our discussion is going to focus on technology and society, the impact that the internet and internet technologies have had on learning, on communication, on relationships, on culture. We'll explore this from a variety of different angles. And so our discussion boards are really going to be the place where that discussion and that exploration comes to focus. The essays that we're working on continue to sharpen your your skills as an academic writer and researcher. So that's really the nexus of English 112. So beyond that, let me get through my old slides. Important course policies, we've talked about text, we've talked about, here's a playbook for success. I had a student, a QU student actually, who last fall in the first day that our course met live, asked a really good question. He just said, what kind of students do you like? And I thought, that's a good question, because there are all kinds of things that I think make a good student, and you probably have a very clear idea of what a good college student is and does, what kinds of habits they have, how they manage their time. But I thought I would jot down a few specific notes about, for an online course, how do you carve out a path to success for English 112 online? So here's my advice. Whether you follow it is up to you, but I would start by making time for this class. One of the things that students who don't find success in this class are doing and have in common is that they don't have realistic expectations of how much time they should be spending on this course every week. So I think that it's probably reasonable for you to be spending at least 6, maybe up to 10 hours of work per week on this class. So it's not just going in and throwing up some random junk on a discussion board and then going back a couple days later and putting in a few responses to peers. You really need to be thoughtful about how you do this. And when you're not actively completing tasks that are due that day, you need to be thinking ahead to bigger items that are going to come due in the next few weeks. So essay 1, essay 2, essay 3. Things like that. And that's my second point. Be continually working on your essays. So don't be focused around the discussions. They are an important part of class, but they're not the only part of class. So when you're finished with those discussions, I would make sure that you're scheduling time for you to pick at the essay du jour, because we're always working on an essay in class, gradually. And that way you're not going to write these things the night before. Play around with them for 45 minutes. Do some free writing. Do some brainstorming. Do a little bit of preliminary research. Look through an article. And then put it on the shelf for another day. And then come back. So that would be my recommendation, is that you're continually working on your essays. Do your work honestly. We've talked about plagiarism and academic dishonesty. It gives me no pleasure at all to fail a student who has not submitted their own original work. Unfortunately, I have a lot of occasion to do this, and I don't know why. As the technology is becoming smarter and smarter at detecting plagiarizing, students tend to do it more and more. I'm so confused by it, and it really it hurts my little heart to give you a failing grade. But I'm going to do it if you don't submit your own original work. So do the best work that you can. Give yourself enough time to do the best work that you can and submit honest work. Use the resources that I've provided, especially in an online class where the expectation is that students know where to look for things, know how to turn things in, know how to get a hold of the instructor when you have questions. Use those resources. So I've created the course schedule, the assignment schedule. I've designed our course page to be really easy to navigate so that when you have a question, the answer is probably in that schedule. It's probably in the syllabus. It's probably in the assignment prompt. Now, if you have additional things that require clarification, shoot me an email. Yeah, let's talk about it. But I put a lot of resources out there. So, I don't know. It's not that students irritate me when they send me a message like, when does essay 1 due? But my first thought is, dude, you know when essay 1 is due. Look at the prompt. It's on the prompt. It's probably in 3 different places. It's on the course schedule in your syllabus. It's in the assignment schedule. It's likely also on the prompt. It's in Moodle. It's in 1,000 different places. Emailing me and making me look it up and email it back to you is just not a habit that you need to make. So use the resources that I've provided. Review all the feedback and comments. So when I grade your work, I likely will also be issuing comments on your work. If you're losing points because there's a formatting issue, like you turn in something and your name's not on it, or it's not double spaced and I take off a point or 2 or 3, it depends on what the assignment is. If you're not reading the comments in addition to looking at the grade that I've submitted to the Moodle gradebook, you may be making the same mistake repetitively and continuing to lose points on future assignments. So make sure that you look at all those comments, particularly when I grade essays. Guys, essays take a long time to grade. And I mean, of course, I like reading your papers because this is my profession and this is what I'm teaching. So I'm here and I can hang. But it always hurts me to know that I spend hours upon hours reading student essays and really giving you helpful, thoughtful, substantive feedback that really will develop you as a writer, and knowing that probably more than half of my students don't look at those comments. So please be one of those good students that looks at the comments and the feedback that I give to you. If you want me to clarify or expand on the comments that I've left for you, I'm totally happy to do that. Just let me know. But make sure that you're reviewing it. Submit your assignments on time. We've already talked about late penalties in this class, so you're aware of that. I would suggest an organizational system. If you're not a planner, user, an alarm setter in your phone, if you don't use some sort of software to help you manage your time, like your Google Calendar or whatever it is, and having an online class gives you a pretty good reason to implement something like that into your life. Find a way to organize this class into your life in a way that makes sense. It will help you to avoid things like turning in assignments late. Don't depend on Moodle to be reminding you to do everything. First of all, Moodle isn't going to be listing everything that's due in this class, everything that you're going to be working on gradually. So don't rely just on Moodle. You need to be looking through the syllabus and the course schedule that's within that document, and you need to be scheduling yourself time to work on these assignments as we move through. Finally, ask questions. So sometimes students think they know what I want them to do for a discussion board, or when you write an essay, I think what she wants is this. Okay, and then you start writing that paper. If you need me to clarify something, if you need me to give you an example of something, anything like that. If you're not 100% sure that you know what I want and you know what I want you to do and what I'm expecting you to be working on at that specific moment in time, feel free to email me. I'm happy to give you lots of feedback about, okay, well, I see that you're done with this week's discussions. What I would do now would be blah, 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 blah. I think for, hi professor, I think that for essay 1, what you're looking for is for me to blah, 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 blah. Is this correct? And I'm writing back, yeah, you're on the right track. Also make sure that blah, 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 blah. So asking questions, especially by email, is something that is super easy for me. You don't need to feel like you're bothering me. I'm here to be your instructor. I'm here to be your professor. Put me to work. So when you have questions, I would really hate for you to have wasted any effort doing the assignment you thought I wanted you to do, but not the assignment that I'm actually asking you to do. I know that this seems like an elementary problem, but that's kind of one of the things that I find in English 111 and 112 and at other places where I teach, that sometimes students write great essays that are not at all what I ask them to write in the assignment prompt. So make sure that you're really closely looking through the assignment prompt. Make sure that you really understand clearly the challenge of the assignment before you get started, because again, just like plagiarism gives me no joy at all, it also gives me no joy to give you a very low grade on an essay that is pretty well written and nicely organized and very thoughtful, and parts of it are quite clever, but it doesn't satisfy the challenge of the assignment at all. You just went off and you just wrote an essay, and it doesn't connect to this, and it doesn't satisfy that assignment's challenge. So there's that. This is just some general advice about how you can be successful in my class in English 112 online this semester. As always, I look forward to hearing from you, and so I'll be checking my email and I'll be looking at Moodle to see what good ideas and thoughts and essays you come up with this semester. I'm excited to be your professor. Please let me know how I can help you further, and other than that, let's just get to it and have a great semester. Thanks so much, guys.